Anybody who knows Paul, he is a fixture around town.
Sigal Reese. Hi, Sigal.
Hi.
So what was that like? And
Hello again, everybody. We're here with Stacey Lane, brand new principal, Dr. Margot Bracek. Got it right?
Yes.
Okay. We're here on town meeting floor with none other than Judy Langone. Well, hello again, everybody. It's Jerry Slater, and I am here with a new friend, our brand new principal of Norwood High School, Dr. Hugh Galligan.
Good morning, Jerry. Thank you so much for having me.
And we're going to spend a few minutes this morning getting to know a little bit more about you and what you're going to be doing here. So, for folks in the community who might not be aware of your background, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I started off as a teacher and coaching football and track in Boston Public Schools at West Roxbury High School. Rose up, kind of became a department chair there in the English department in one of the smaller academies there. And then moved on to Hanover High School, and I spent the last 7 years as the associate principal in Hanover High School. Really started off as a traditional kind of AP role, doing a lot of student discipline, student affairs, attendance, things like that, and really kind of morphed over the years into more of a co-principalship with my principal at the time. So got really great experiences and got to be involved in big picture, mission and vision and long-term goals. And over the course of 7 years, we were really able to achieve a lot. So, I was really, really excited to take on this next challenge, to come to such a welcoming, diverse, and inclusive community with great, proud tradition in Norwood. And I'm really, really happy and excited to be here.
Now, I know you live in Dedham. We
do.
won't hold that against that.
Yeah.
Family there as well?
Yes. My wife Meg, she's a nurse at Beth Israel Hospital, does a great job and really, runs a tight ship. And my two boys, Hugh is 4.5 and Tommy is 2.5. So they're running wild and we have a lot of fun. They've been up at school a couple times this summer, running around, and they really enjoy it, taking it all in. They're very fascinated with the lockers. That's their favorite piece. They can fit inside them.
I bet they can. Let's make sure they don't get locked inside. Also, roots Salem,
yes.
Correct?
Yes, grew up in Salem, Mass, up in the North Shore. Family's still up there. Really, again, proud tradition there, and have close family and friends still there, so stay involved in the community there as well.
So you touched a little bit on what interests you about coming to Norwood. You were at Hanover for 7 years, which I think your bio says you were an assistant and an associate principal, which I'm assuming was relatively your responsibilities increased as you were there. That's a long time, which is great. What drove you to Norwood? What interests you about this community?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's always a school and a community that I've admired. Being close in Dedham, I knew a lot about the community. I appreciate the tradition. I appreciate the increasingly diverse community and increasingly diverse school system, and the value that brings from an educational perspective for kids in terms of having a real life experience. And I think a long time ago, once upon a time, I did a brief stint as a student teacher here at Norwood High School when I was at Boston College in my undergrad, and I knew right then that it was a place where everybody cared about one another, and I could sense that then. I never lost track of that. And when I saw, my intent was not really to make a move at this time, but when I saw this job open up, I had the tough discussion with my wife, and we both agreed instantly, like, you got to go for it and go all in and see what happens, and if it's meant to be, it'll happen. And I'm really fortunate and excited to be here.
Well, super. We're too, and it's interesting because our leadership here, the principals in the school, many of them have a tie to Norwood one way or another. So you have a lot in common from that standpoint.
Yes.
Now you're doing something interesting. You're taking a very methodical approach to your first few months here. Why don't you talk a little bit about your plan and what you're doing with that?
Sure. So as I started moving through the interview process, I wanted to think about, if I was lucky enough to get this job, how I would go about learning about the school and the school system and the town itself. many people who work here, teach here, live here, have roots in Norwood that go back for a long, long time, and that's a wonderful thing. And not having that myself, I know that I have to take the time to really meet people, learn about the system, learn all the things that make this place so wonderful, some of the challenges that we might have and some of the things we might to improve. And the best way to do that is through my entry plan, I believe, and kind of taking time to collect data. So the way I do that is by setting up meetings with all types of stakeholders, students, teachers, custodians, administrative assistants, central office staff, parent organizations, really every constituent that could be possibly involved from an educational perspective, getting feedback, asking the same questions of each of those people and trying to kind of collect my data. And the goal is over the first 100 days of the principalship, so from kind of July 1st to beginning of October, to have 100 of these meetings. And so that's my goal. It's ambitious, but I'm on track and starting to see some trends. And that's the point of it, is to not go off a hunch, not pretend that I know anything right now. The people that, the students, the staff, and the community members and our families know a lot more about Norwood High School than I do right now. So who am I to pretend that I know what needs to happen? So I need to take time to build trust, build relationships, build culture, and learn. And once we do that, we can pick a few things that we really want to get better at together and go all in.
Yeah, that's great. And you know, I love, it's almost like a business plan, right? I work in a strategic function, and that's what we do. You know, so I admire you. I haven't heard that being utilized in an educational, but you know, gathering the data before you form an opinion on anything. And I think the one thing you probably have noticed already, and it sounds like it, is change is a little difficult here in Norwood, so any place for that matter.
Any
so
place.
yeah, you don't want to go. You definitely don't want to go in with lead with your chin on that one.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that, you know, as a new coming into any organization, whether it be education or elsewhere, a leader's job first is just to listen and learn and build trust and build relationships. So that's my only goal right now. We have goals that we'll be working on as a school that we have been working on having those discussions prior to my arrival, and I'm learning that and participating in that, and it's my job to create the structures that will help facilitate growth in that way. But it is not my job right now to say, you've been doing something this way, I think this way is better, because I don't know that. And so let's take the time to go through the process, trust the process, and then we'll, like I said, we'll figure out some goals that we really want to work on together to get better at, and we can do that.
So you've got some new members of the administration, of the leadership team here. One that I'm quite fond of that I said hello to on the way in.
Yes,
Why don't you talk a little bit about some of the leadership changes here?
Yeah, so I'm really fortunate to have such a strong leadership team. As you know, we have a strong leadership through our department chairs and our dean structure here, and I'm really, really excited to welcome Ms. Cindy DeRain as our vice principal at this time, and it's something that just, it couldn't have been a better fit. And already, you know, throughout the first couple months, every day I have at least a dozen kind of new guy questions, and she can help me with that. And so it's really been a nice partnership. We really see eye to eye on a lot of things and have complementary strengths in a lot of ways. So we're really, really proud to welcome Mr. Rain to that position.
That great hire.
Yeah, yeah.
And but there's more.
There is more. Yes, we added a new ninth grade dean for our freshmen, Mr. John Saranides. He has been a longtime social studies teacher and coach, a Norwood High School graduate. So it's really great to bring him onto the team. He brings. He'll work with our ninth graders on building social, emotional, and behavioral supports to really help them and set them up for success over the 4 years. And he'll loop with them, so he'll stay with them throughout the 4 years, as all our deans do. And with that, since Mr. Rain had come from the foreign language department, we also had an opening in our foreign language department as a leader. So Ms. Jess Kaplan has accepted our offer to move up as interim foreign language chair, which has been a great hire, and she's provided strength and consistency for our 6 through 12 foreign language department.
That's super. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. We'll change pace a little. We talked about this before. You were part of a rugby program that started, so you play rugby.
Yes. Yes.
I think you played football originally, but
Yep.
and you actually started. Well, one of the people that started a very, very successful program, rugby program in Hanover.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little about that?
Sure. Rugby is a passion of mine for many, many years. I started playing in college at Boston College, and then played for quite a long time after that with the Boston Rugby Club, and did some coaching after I stopped playing a few years ago. And really, as I got a little more comfortable in my associate principal role and had maybe a little bit more time and was a little bit more efficient, I really made the connections, and we were able to start a rugby team down at Hanover High School. A very successful one, just finished its 4th year. Rugby is now an MIA sport for both boys and girls, which is great. A growing sport. It is the fastest growing youth sport in the country. Many people do not know that, and being recognized more and more every day. Olympic sport now. So there's a lot of pathways for our student athletes to be successful in that realm. More colleges are offering scholarships and creating full varsity programs. So it's a really nice sport. Focuses on teamwork. There's a spot for everybody, regardless of your size, strength, like kind of everybody fits in, and it really does bring a lot of unity to the school and to the program. So I think that's what resonates most with me is the kind of the friendships and relationships you make through a sport like that, through a real team sport like that. So maybe down the line, we have a rugby team at Norwood High School, and that would be like pie in the sky for me. It was so great to see that come to fruition. In the first year we had about 20 young men, and in my final year we had about 55. So won the first ever state rugby championship under the MIA umbrella. So maybe someday down the line I'd love to see it, but it is a passion of mine, and I think it's great for our young student athletes to take part in a sport like that.
And that's one that there isn't going to be somebody that's been necessarily playing that for a million years.
Yes.
And is going to come as something that somebody can just, you have equal footing on with rugby, no pun intended.
Yeah, it really is nice. Kids come in kind of at a level playing field for the most part. And one of the great things that we saw in my previous district with that program is that in that first year when we had about 20 kids, about 16 of them had never played a spring sport before. So it wasn't kids moving from other spring sports, it was adding. It was a real added value to the school and to the student experience. Students who may not have played any other sport were willing to give this a try. No cuts, everybody, it's new to everybody, whether you have experience in other sports or not, you can pick up the skills and knowledge needed to be successful. So it's really, again, there's a spot for everybody, which makes it a really special game, in my opinion.
So we'll look for that sport to be added soon. We'll wrap up, Dr. Galligan, and again, it's an odd question. You've talked about why you've come here. You talked about what your plan is. What are you most excited about?
I'm really just most excited to see this place come to life, and it's going to happen soon. And I've been thinking and planning, and as a team, as a leadership team, we've been planning for so long. Now it's like when the students and the teachers come and teaching and learning is happening, you just know what to do, and I'm really ready for that. I want to see Norwood High School come to life, so we get that soon. I'm really excited for that.
So Dr. Galligan, thank you again. We look forward to checking in with you again after your 100 days.
I'd love for that opportunity to come back and speak with you.
Thanks.
Norwood Community Media is your home for all things Norwood. NCM delivers your local news, original programs, and information across multiple platforms. From the comfort of your living room or out on the road, stay connected to Norwood and watch NCM live from wherever, whenever.
Hello again, everybody. We're here with Stacey Lane, who is the Assistant Director of our town's Public Health Department. And Stacey, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, we don't know each other. We just met, and you're a little bit behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, tell us a little bit about what you do in the Assistant Director role.
Okay. I started out originally as the public health nurse. So I've been there for 24 years. So the first 15, I was the public health nurse. And then I decided to go back to school, got my master's degree in public health, and became the assistant director. They did a little bit of restructuring of the department based on the needs of the department. So I mostly do a lot of enforcement. I do a lot of complaints. I do housing inspections. So on a day-to-day basis, that's more routine what I do. But I also do emergency preparedness. And basically, one thing that's great about this job is there's always something different every day. Changes every day, so keeps things a little exciting.
Oh, I bet it does. And the field itself, I mean, there's so many emerging issues. But I'm going to swing it back to you again, because you tell us a little bit about your background. And it's interesting that you were a nurse originally.
Yes.
For the town, or had you worked somewhere else before? Or?
I worked at Mass General as a surgical trauma unit, in a surgical trauma unit there. But I was born and raised in Norwood. And so I got to that age where I wanted to have a family, and I didn't want to work holidays and travel into Boston, and this job came out. I saw the ad in the newspaper, and I said, oh, I think I'll take a look at that. I love infectious diseases. I know that sounds a little creepy, but I actually love that. So this was right up my alley. And so I started out doing a lot of communicable disease reporting, investigating, and back then everything was in paper, and a lot of the diseases were new, so you really had to interview everyone and investigate and call hospitals and call labs, so it was really interesting. And so I just really learned to love public health. And there were so many other aspects why I wanted to reach out and do other things, so went back to school.
All right, so you've given me a little material here, because I got to go back to the surgical unit. Now, that had to have been, you said the hours and the travel and everything. That work had to be really, you're on your feet, you're on the go. What sticks out in your mind about that experience?
Stress, definitely stress. And you get attached to your patients and you attached to the families. But it was a great team, working with the doctors, and I loved it. I did like it, and I do miss it. But it was just a time when you have your family, it's just long hours. They're 12-hour shifts, and plus the commute. Okay. And like I said, the holidays and stuff. So I just thought I wanted to do something a little closer to town, but something also as meaningful as that. And this definitely is.
Infectious diseases was the other thing that you said that you loved. And we were talking with Segal a little bit about the flu and how that's changed over the years. You've been in the field 24 years, I think you said. What changes have you seen specifically around infectious diseases, but in general about public health?
Well, the one thing about public health and infectious diseases is, as you probably remember, even TB. People think today TB is not around, but it is. And any time in public health where you say something, oh, we cured that, and then you stop funding for that, or you stop finding that, you say, oh, that disease isn't around anymore. Measles, mumps, rubella, people say those diseases aren't around anymore. Well, they are. And in the minute you stop vaccinating, or the minute you stop funding prevention activities, especially around things like TB, those diseases emerge, they come back again. And so it's quite cyclical, how things that, you don't think of TB anymore, but you still have to keep an eye on it and still have to keep that practice up of prevention.
Now, with vaccines, and you see it in the news every now and then, people aren't getting vaccinated. I know that, speaking with some parents, they're saying they won't do it because they think that. How are we in the town promoting getting the vaccinations and the preventative care, if you will, when it comes?
Well, great school nurses. The public health nurse, Karen Regan, works very closely with them, and they make sure they check everybody's records when the children come into the school. And so there are a few occasions where children can't get immunized. Either they can have a religious exemption, or for medical reasons they can't get it. But I have to say our immunization rates in this town are pretty good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Enforcement was another thing that you talked about.
Okay.
And we got to go there.
Unfortunately, my job's not that glamorous at times, so sometimes I'll get, I enforce the state sanitary code, and part of that is the housing code. So I will get calls from residents that find that their home does not meet the minimum standards of human habitation. And it can be anything from no hot water, electrical issues, plumbing issues, bed bugs, cockroaches, mice. So I'll go in and do an inspection, and sometimes it's flipping a mattress and seeing bed bugs or looking for cockroaches or lovely things like that. But then I have to write a correction order. So then the owner gets what's called an order to correct. And so then legally we have to follow up with that. They have so much time to correct the orders. If not, we take them to Dedham District Court.
And, you know, I know today we probably think people are probably watching this and saying, no, not here.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
it's you probably see some pretty heartbreaking stories
Yes.
through that too.
Mhm.
Anything stand out in your mind?
Well, we have a crisis intervention team, which is the health department. It's people from the Norwood Housing Authority, it's the police department, the fire department, senior center. We all work together. So if it's a senior, we'll make sure we call the appropriate agencies and get some help in there. Some people may be mental health services that they need. So we try to help the person first and not just go in there and, play the hardball. So we try to do what's best for the person first. But yeah,
That's its way. And I'm sure offline you can tell me the stories you couldn't say on the air about what happens there. Let's get back to you a little bit, Stacey. Now, I know you have a child here at the high school,
I
don't you?
do. I have a senior, Harry Lane. You probably see he's very active in music, so you'll see him with the Barry sax. He's very tall. So I'm also on the PMA, so promote the marching band, jazz band, and music and drama. So those are my, you'll sometimes see me up at the high school helping out with that.
Well, and you said he was a senior, so you're probably going through the stress of...
The stress of waiting for the schools to, yes.
To check. What else? What do you like to do outside of, I know your job is a pretty demanding job. How do you let loose?
Pretty much just the things right now I don't let loose because right now it's a very stressful time, like you said, with the college applications and things like that. But no, I'm pretty much a homebody. I have 2 other children, all graduates of Norwood High. I graduated from Norwood High. My mother did. My grandfather did. So I love Norwood, so I tend to stick around. I go to the restaurants in Norwood. I shop in Norwood. So I know I need to get out and live a little bit more, but.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. All right, so we'll flip back just to kind of wrap this around with your role with the town. What's on your mind? What's kind of the next thing that you think you want to get involved in your role, or what might be something emerging, whether it's infectious diseases, whether it's on the enforcement side?
Well, on the enforcement side, what we would like to have is a housing court. So we're really promoting that we get a housing court in this area because we have to use Dedham District Court. So as you know, that's a very busy court, and it's a criminal court. And it's very difficult to have housing cases seen before that court. You have to wait a very long time. And thankfully, the police department helps that. They can get me seen a lot faster. So that's the big push right now. I'd really love to see a housing court.
Okay.
But I have one thing that you probably don't know that the health department does.
Tell me.
Chickens.
Okay.
Okay, you need a permit to have chickens in the town of Norwood. So believe it or not, I go out and inspect for chickens.
So that's one job they did not give to Teddy Mulvihill.
No.
Right? So
No.
you're the chicken inspector. Okay,
Chicken
let's talk.
inspector.
So and so what's the regulation on chickens? Because
You have to have a permit. So you
Okay.
have to have a permit. So it's on our website. So if you go to the town website and go to the health department, there are regulations. We regulate them, and you have to have a permit. And so you have to have so many square feet for the chicken. You only allow so many per square footage. You have to notify your neighbors, so your neighbors will know. And if they don't want it, you can go before the board. You can send a letter to the board, and then we hear both sides. You actually have to have a manure control plan, so you don't attract pests or have any odors or flies, and it's pretty interesting.
Now, is there a limit to the number of chickens?
Yes, there is, and
And-
it's based on square footage. So
Okay.
we're a pretty tight community. We're pretty close together. Not
yeah.
a lot of land. So
Yeah.
most people have around 6, but of course, if you have a large lot of land, you can have more. But 'cause you don't have one chicken because they like to have,
Yeah,
they like to
have
be
friends.
together. They like
Right.
to have friends.
Right.
But
They
I
like
think
to have
that's something that most people are surprised about, that you have to get a permit from us.
And it's a new thing too, because sadly I know a little bit about the whole free-range chicken thing with the, and the eggs are so expensive now. So I'm fascinated, obviously, by this whole thing. That you
I knew I'd
throw in-
stump you on
yeah,
that
you
one.
threw it in the end. Do you also have to have them in a coop?
You have to have them in the coop. You can't have them flying over into your neighbor's yard.
They can't really be free-range.
No, well, I mean, if you make it, as long as you fence it off, they just can't be, they can come out of their coop, and it just has to be fenced off, so they're not bothering anyone. And the feed has to be in sealed containers because you don't want to attract rodents. But I just thought that was an interesting tidbit.
That is, I mean, we may have to go out with you on a chicken inspection.
Oh, there you go.
So, our town members, remember, if you get chickens, you have to go see Stacey to get a permit. So with that, the perfect way to end. Stacey, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
joining us.
You're welcome.
Anybody who knows Paul, he is a fixture around town.
Sigal Reese. Hi, Sigal.
Hi.
So what was that like? And
Hello again, everybody. We're here with Stacey Lane, brand new principal, Dr. Margot Bracek. Got it right?
yes.
Okay. We're here on town meeting floor with none other than Judy Langone,